Welcome to session 8. The topic is stresses in soil. The stresses in soil can be broadly classified into two types: geostatic stresses and stresses due to external loads. Geostatic stresses developed in the soil due to weight of soil along with its pore water. There are three types of geostatic stresses: total stress, neutral stress or pore water pressure, and effective stress. So geostatic stresses are nothing but self weight of soil. Total stress is the stress developed at a point in the soil due to the total weight of soil above it. So what is total weight of soil? You can get the total weight of soil by multiplying the unit weight of soil with depth of soil. If the soil is saturated, we have to take saturated unit weight, or if it is having some moisture content, we can take the bulk unit weight. Pore water pressure is the stress developed due to static weight of water below the water table. So pore water pressure can be calculated by multiplying the unit weight of water with depth of water. Then effective stress, it is the stress developed due to weight of soil only. It is the stress transmission through grain to grain at the contact point through soil mass. It is also termed as the intergranular stress. Effective stress, which is equal to total stress minus pore water pressure, can be calculated by taking the total stress, if it is saturated unit weight multiplied by depth of soil minus pore water pressure, unit weight of water multiplied by depth of water. So from this we can calculate the submerged unit weight. Then capillary pressure. The pores in the soil acts as capillary tube and water rises above the water table. The pressure exerted by the capillary water on the surrounding soil is called capillary pressure, which is a negative pore water pressure. So capillary pressure equal to unit weight of water multiplied by Z, that is the thickness of capillary zone. So it varies from 0, that is at the level of groundwater table, to minus gamma W into Z, that is at the meniscus. At the top of the meniscus it will be maximum, that is gamma W into Z, and at the groundwater table it is 0. Seepage pressure. It is the pressure exerted by the flowing water on the surrounding soil through which it percolates. Seepage water can be calculated by multiplying the unit weight of water with head causing flow. When there is both pore water pressure and seepage pressure present in a soil mass, then we can take the effective stress, which is equal to total stress minus pore water pressure plus or minus seepage pressure. So what is the difference between pore water pressure and seepage pressure? Pore water pressure is due to the static water present in the soil, whereas seepage pressure is the pressure due to dynamic water present in the soil. So why we should take plus or minus? That depends on the direction of flow. If the flow is taking place in the downward direction, then it compresses the soil particles and then increases the effective stress. In that case, we have to take plus value for seepage pressure. But if the flow is taking place in the upward direction, then it loosens the soil particles and then reduces the effective stress, and hence we should take the negative sign. Quicksand phenomenon. For a saturated soil of thickness Z, when the flow is in the upward direction, then we can write effective stress equal to total stress minus pore water pressure minus seepage pressure. When the flow is upwards, we should take negative sign. Then in this case, what is the total stress? Total weight of soil multiplied by depth of soil. Total weight of soil, we should take saturated unit weight multiplied by thickness of soil. Then pore water pressure, because it is submerged, this full thickness is considered for pore water pressure. So we can take gamma W into Z minus seepage pressure, unit weight of water multiplied by head causing flow, that is H. So from these two we can write gamma sat minus gamma W equal to gamma submerged multiplied by Z minus gamma W into H. So this is nothing but submerged weight of soil, and this is seepage pressure. When the submerged weight of soil becomes equal to the seepage pressure, then the effective stress will become 0. When the effective stress becomes 0, for a cohesionless soil, the shear strength will become 0. So that the particles in the soil will start hesitating, will move upwards. This condition is called quicksand condition or boiling quicksand. So if you take effective stress as 0, then submerged weight of soil will become equal to seepage pressure. So we know that from this we can write submerged unit weight equal to gamma W into H by Z. What is H by Z? Is nothing but hydraulic gradient. So we can write I into gamma W. Then submerged unit weight, we know that it is equal to G minus 1 into gamma W divided by 1 plus E, which is equal to hydraulic gradient multiplied by unit weight of water. In case of quicksand condition, the hydraulic gradient is called critical hydraulic gradient, represented with symbol IC. So critical hydraulic gradient equal to, when you cancel this gamma W on either side, you will get G minus 1 by 1 plus E. So we should remember this critical hydraulic gradient equation, which is equal to G minus 1 by 1 plus E. Now let us see some numericals on stresses in soil. First one is, the water table is located at a depth of 3 meter below the ground surface in a deposit of sand 11 meter thick. The sand is saturated above the water table. The saturated unit weight of the sand is 20 kilonewton per meter cube. Calculate the total, neutral and effective pressures at depths 3, 7 and 11 meter from the ground surface and draw the pressure distribution diagrams. So here the total thickness is 11 meter and then the top layer is 3 meter thick, because the water table is located at 3 meter thick. Even though the soil is same, the unit weights are varying. Above the water table, the unit weight will be different. Below the water table, the unit weight will be different. Saturated unit weight of sand is 20 kilonewton per meter cube. That is below this level, below the water table, because the soil is saturated, it is 20 kilonewton per meter cube. Then calculate the total, neutral and effective pressures at depths 3, 7 and 11. So here dry unit weight is not given. So we cannot assume that this top layer is dry, and bulk unit weight is also not given. So we cannot calculate the weight of this layer. So we have to assume that this layer also saturated because of some capillary rise or something. So when we assume, because only one unit weight is given, we have to assume that even this layer is saturated. Then we can calculate the weight of soil at different depths. At 3 meter depth, total weight equal to unit weight of soil multiplied by depth of soil. So 20 into 3, so that we can calculate the total stress. At this point, at this level, there is no pore water pressure. At the water table level, there is no pore water pressure. That is, there is no weight of water. Then effective stress, which is the difference between total stress minus pore water pressure, will become 60. Then at 7 meter depth, total stress is nothing but unit weight of soil multiplied by depth of soil above this level. Above this level, the total depth is 7 meter. So we have to multiply 7 with unit weight of soil, that is 20. So that we can calculate total stress. Then pore water pressure at this level. What is the pore water pressure? What is the weight of water? Unit weight of water multiplied by depth of water. unit weight of water is 9.81 and depth of water is 4 meter. So that we can calculate the pore water pressure. Then by taking the difference between total stress and pore water pressure, we can calculate the effective stress. Similarly, at 11 meter depth, at this level, what is the depth of soil? Total depth of soil is 11 meter and unit weight of soil is 20 kilonewton per meter cube. So when we multiply, we can find the total stress at this level, and pore water pressure at this level equal to weight of water above this level. So what is the weight of water above this level? 8 into 9.81. Then we can find the effective stress by taking the difference. Then we have to plot these values according to the respective depth. So at this level it is 60, at this level it is 140, and at this level it is 220. This diagram is for total stress. This is the total stress distribution diagram. Then pore water pressure distribution diagram. There is no pore water pressure at the top, that is at the ground level, because there is no weight of water at this level. Then at 3 meter depth also there is no weight of water. At this depth the value is 39.24 and at 11 meter depth it is 78.48. So that we can prepare the pore water pressure distribution diagram. Then effective stress at different depths we have to plot the values. So it is 60, 100.76 and then 141.52. So we have to plot the values. We have to write the values. Here these values are not correct. This is 60, this is correct. Here it is 100.76 and here it is 141.52. Next example is, a soil profile consists of a surface layer of sand 2 meter thick with unit weight of 16 kilonewton per meter cube, intermediate layer of clay sand 2.5 meter thick and unit weight of 19 kilonewton per meter cube, and bottom layer of clay 3.5 meter thick with unit weight of 19.5 kilonewton per meter cube. So there are 3 layers with different unit weights. Then the water table is at the top of intermediate layer. So this is the intermediate layer. It is at the top of intermediate layer. Determine the total stress, pore water pressure and effective stress, and draw the stress distribution diagrams for all the 3 layers. So first we have to calculate the values of total stress, pore water pressure and effective stress at different depths. So at 2 meter depth, what is the total stress? What is the total weight of soil above this level? So here for this layer, unit weight of soil is 16 kilonewton per meter cube. So 16 into depth of soil is 2 meter. So that we can calculate the total stress. Then pore water pressure is 0. By taking the difference, we can find the effective stress. Then at 4.5 meter depth, that is total weight of soil above this level. Above this level, the total weight is weight of the first layer and weight of second layer. So weight of first layer is 32 plus weight of second layer is unit weight of soil in that particular layer multiplied by thickness of this layer, so that we can find the total stress. Then pore water pressure. At this level, what is the weight of water above it? It is 9.81 into 2.5. Then we can find the effective stress. Then at 8 meter depth, at this level, total weight of soil. What is the total weight of soil? Weight of this layer plus weight of this layer plus weight of third layer. So weight of first 2 layers is 79.5 and weight of third layer is 19.5 into 3.5, so that we can find the total stress. Then pore water pressure. Total weight of water above this level. It is nothing but total depth of this particular layer, that is 2.5 plus 3.5, that is 6 meter into unit weight of water 9.81, so that we can find the pore water pressure and then effective stress. After finding these values, then we have to plot the pressure distribution diagrams for total stress, pore water pressure and effective stress. So here total stresses at different depths are 32, 79.5 and 147.75. Then pore water pressure is 0, 24.5 and 58.86. Then effective stresses are 32, 55 and then 88.89. Then the third problem is the water table is located at a depth of 5 meter below the ground surface in a deposit of sand 10 meter thick. So total thickness is 10 meter due to capillary rise. Capillary rise is always above the water table. The sand is saturated up to a height of 3 meter above the water table. The saturated and dry unit weights of the sand are 21 and 17 kilonewton per meter cube. Calculate the total, neutral and effective pressures at different levels and draw the pressure distribution diagrams. So here depth of water table is given and the height of capillary rise is given. So now in the capillary zone always the soil is saturated. So we have to take the saturated unit weight for these two layers, for second layer and third layer, and then because the dry unit weight is given, we should assume that the first layer is dry. So we should take the dry unit weight. Then at 2 meter depth, total stress equal to total weight of soil above this level. So which is 17 into 2 unit weight of soil multiplied by depth of soil. Then pore water pressure. When it comes to pore water pressure, we have to take the pressure due to capillary rise. As we discussed previously, the pressure due to capillary rise is a negative pore water pressure and it is maximum at the meniscus and 0 at the water table. So it will be varying uniformly from a value of gamma W into H to 0 at the groundwater level. So here minus gamma W into H is nothing but capillary rise is 3 meter. So that we can calculate the pore water pressure. This is minus 29.43. Then while taking the difference, effective stress equal to total stress minus pore water pressure. This pore water pressure is negative now. Because of capillary rise, the pore water pressure is negative. So it will become plus sigma plus U. So that we will get 63.43. Then at 5 meter depth, we can calculate the total weight of soil. Then pore water pressure will become 0. Then effective stress we can calculate by taking the difference. Then at 10 meters also we can find the total stress, pore water pressure and effective stress. After calculating the values, we have to plot the pressure distribution diagrams. So how to plot these values? Total stresses, they are increasing linearly. So 34, 97 and 202. So this is fine. But here these values are wrong. Please don't consider. You just find the values from the calculation only. Then when it comes to pore water pressure, at the top of the meniscus, due to capillary rise, it is negative. So that is the reason we had taken on the left side of this vertical. And here it is positive. Below the water table, weight of water, the pore water pressure due to weight of water should be taken as positive. The pore water pressure due to capillary rise has to be taken as negative. So it should be on the left side and pore water pressure due to weight of water should be on the right side. Then we can join the points so that we can plot the pore water pressure distribution diagram. Then when it comes to effective stress diagram, so here the linearity is from 0 to 34 between the top and bottom of the first layer. The increase in stress is due to weight of soil, and then there is sudden increase in effective stress due to capillary rise, but that is not linear. we cannot join this point to this point. That is wrong. Okay, it is linearly increasing from 0 to 34, and then there is an increase due to capillary rise which is at this point only. So we should draw a step like this. Then at this level it is 97 and at the bottom it is 152.95. Next example, a granular soil deposit is 7 meter deep with groundwater table at 4 meter below ground level. The deposit has a zone of capillary rise of 1.2 meter and top 2.8 meter has a degree of saturation of 60%. It is not dry. Plot the variation of total stress, pore water pressure and effective stress at different depths. Assume void ratio equal to 0.6 and stress gravity equal to 2.65. So here in this case we have to find bulk unit weight and then saturated unit weight. So because the degree of saturation is given, we have to find the bulk unit weight for the top layer. So here this is not dry unit weight. We should not take the dry unit weight. We should take bulk unit weight. What is the equation for bulk unit weight? G plus SE into gamma W divided by 1 plus C. So in the S value we should take 0.6 so that we can calculate the bulk unit weight for the top layer. Then second layer is saturated unit weight and third layer also saturated unit weight. Then at different depths we have to find the total stress, pore water pressure and effective stress. Again here also we should take the negative sign for the pore water pressure due to capillary rise, and then you have to take positive sign for the weight of water. And because it is not linear, the increase in stress due to capillary rise is not linear from top to bottom of the first layer. We have to show as a step at this level so that we can complete the pressure distribution diagrams.